Welcome to an edition of Rewatch Rewind, where I talk about media that was released in my childhood. Okay, so right after I give this disclaimer, I'm going to jump into the synopsis and let you know what the film is about. I'm going to talk about what I remember just thinking back on this film, and I'm going to throw in some trivia, add a little fun little game there, and talk about some facts from the year that the film came out. I'm also going to discuss my favorite lines or my favorite scenes from the movie. Then we'll talk about background about how the film was made and any kind of important information that went into the film. And also, of course, we have to talk about controversy. If there's any important controversy surrounding the movie, we'll talk about that as well. We're also going to talk about the cast, where they were before the movie came out and what happened to their career after the film came out. And of course, we have to rate the nostalgia of how the film holds up with what we think about the film, in the year that we're discussing it. Lastly, we'll go into a segment that I call From Film to Real Life. One goal of media is to make an impact on the viewer in the stories that it tells. So for that reason, this segment is going to discuss my real life observations and something that I took away after watching the film. Today we're going to be reviewing Why Do Fools Fall in Love, which was released in 1998 and stars Larenz Tate, Halle Berry, Vivica Fox, and Lela Rochon. Please feel free to fact check me or add more information into the comment section. I am just one person, so I could have missed something or even got some facts wrong, but I am open to others' knowledge, so feel free to add your own input in the comment section. I will also have some of my sources and other links for more information in the description box. According to IMDb, Why Do Fools Fall in Love is about three women who each claim to be a widow of 1950s doo-wop singer Frankie Lymon, claiming legal rights to his estate. So right there, I want to acknowledge that this movie is not necessarily about Frankie Lymon, but it's more like watching The Five Heartbeats, where it's loosely based on people you know. In this case, it's loosely based on Frankie Lymon. Despite this being loosely based off his life, one of the things that I remember about this movie as a child was that I felt like it was a creative way to tell the life story of Frankie Lymon by using the court testimony. I enjoyed seeing Halle Berry, Vivica Fox, and Larenz Tate all in one movie, and I felt like they all did a good job. Despite this movie being loosely based off of Frankie Lymon's story, one of the reasons that I remember this movie from my childhood is because I felt like it was a creative way to tell a story using the court testimony to go through his childhood to his adulthood. I did also enjoy seeing Halle Berry, Vivica Fox, and Larenz Tate all in one movie as well. Okay, time for trivia. In 1998, what Casey and JoJo song hit the Billboard charts as the #1 song on the Hot 100 for 3 weeks? Your choices are You Bring Me Up, Tell Me It's Real, Crazy, and All My Life. The answer will be at the end of this video. Some other facts from this year include the pivotal moment in technology where Google was founded. This is a year that Google was founded, and of course, we all know how important Google is. Of course, I use Google to look up pretty much all of this information, so thank you to 1998. This was also the year that Talking Barney was released. I loved and still love Barney to this day. So all the people that were participating in the hate get the side eye from me. I recently watched I Love You, You Hate Me, the documentary that was about Barney on Peacock. And I was really dumbfounded how a children's show, toy, whole empire could really have so many adults being angry. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, just turn it off. I don't know, but yes, you get the side eye from me for life for that. This was also the year that President Clinton denied relations, Seinfeld ended, Lauryn Hill released The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and Frank Sinatra and FloJo passed away. Lastly, switching tones here, while I was researching, I did find this horrific story. In 1998, there was the death of James Byrd Jr., who was killed by being dragged to death in Texas. He actually accepted a ride for someone he was very familiar with and had no idea what they had planned for him. And the story became international news. So, 1998, it seems like such a long time ago, but it really isn't when you have stories like this happening. So I will include an article in the description box. So now that we have addressed some of the atrocities of this world, let's lighten the mood here and get back to the film. Some of my favorite scenes from this film really involve Vivica. Like, I really think that she was just killing her scenes. Everyone did a great job in their role. I just love what she brought to the film. She was very comical, and when she first meets the lawyer in prison, it's just like, what? I don't know. She brought the life and some energy to her scene. There's also this scene when when they're all at court and Halle Berry's character Zola is on the stand, and she's testifying, talking about an incident that happened with Frankie, and she was saying, oh yes, his shirt was open, and Vivica's character Elizabeth is like, no, his shirt wasn't open, that's a lie. Like, she's already trying to play the long game and take away Zola's credibility so she can win the money for her. So yes. In a side note, is anybody starting OnlyFans for their partner? Like, you can admit that in the comments, no judgment zone. I'm just very curious because Vivica's character Elizabeth, she got on the corner. She said, I have ends that have to be met, and I will do whatever I have to do to get those bills paid. Okay. So, background about the film. The screenplay of this film was actually written by actress turned screenwriter Tina Andrews, and it took 15 years to be produced. Tina Andrews used the court documents as a major point of the film, which explains why the film is how it is, with the women testifying and telling the story of Frankie Lymon. Tina was actually one of the first people to have an interracial kiss on television, which was actually the catalyst to her losing her job at Days of Our Lives, which is the show that the kiss happened on. Once it was time for the screenplay to be turned into a film, Lorenz was hand selected to play Frankie Lymon, so he did not have to audition for this role. As for the ladies, although Frankie Lymon's widows were alive in 1998, they didn't really have a lot to do with the film, but the actresses were able to review tapes of the women so they could actually get a sense of who they were and prepare for the role. Here are two clips of Halle Berry and Vivica Fox talking about some of the background of what went into the film, including the scene by the pool and then their makeup for making them look aged.
Push Halle, or was that somebody else?
No, Halle actually went in the pool. We were so proud of her too, because we were filming and she had gotten sick because I think she was finishing up Bullworth and doing ours at the same time, and she wasn't feeling too well, and the pool, even though it was heated, you know, we didn't think that she would go in, and she was like, because I started off the scene in the water, and she said, Vivica, if you did it, I'm gonna do it too, and so push me in there, but please be gentle. So I did, and it was a stage push, but she went in, and we all gave her a big round of applause for sacrificing herself for a scene.
But she just did it one time.
Oh, yeah.
The aging process, because they had to age you, what, about 25, 30 years? Mm-hmm. What did they do? Pad you, or what did they do?
Yeah, they padded our bodies, then we had little prosthetic pieces. Each of us had different ones, depending on how our face was around our face, and a lot of stretch and stipple. Little age spots here and there. you know. It was really fun because at the end of the day, you know, you could just wash it off and you could, you know, be young again. So.
From these clips, it really seems that the cast had some lighthearted moments and they really enjoyed their roles in this film. So I, of course, wanted to include them in this video. I think the biggest controversy about this movie is that it really should be more about the life of Frankie Lymon. When I looked up information about this film, that's what a lot of people kept noting, is that, you know, it really didn't depict him well, especially because of the fact that Larenz Tate is clearly an adult, and when Frankie Lymon started, he was in his adolescence or about to be in his adolescence. So it's kind of already giving you not the right indication of who he actually was and kind of what he went through, which isn't surprising at all because Hollywood always has a hard time with getting the story right. But I'm glad at least the story has been put out there so people can actually do their own research and really get a sense of who Frankie Lymon was. So I will have some information, some clips, videos that I watched in the description box. So before this film, Halle Berry starred in Jungle Fever in 1991, where she apparently didn't bathe for 2 weeks just to play that role. She then went on to be in Boomerang in 1992 and Losing Isaiah in 1993. Vivica Fox had a lot of one-episode appearances on shows such as Martin and Matlock, but she starred in Independence Day in 1996, Set It Off in 1996, and Soul Food in 1998. Prior to his depiction of Frankie Lymon, Larenz Tate starred in Menace to Society in 1993, Dead Presidents in 1995, and Love Jones in 1997. So after this film, Halle Berry went on to work on her film about Dorothy Dandridge. There was actually a couple of people who were working on projects for Dorothy, and Halle Berry just was the first one to put hers out. And she actually won a Golden Globe for this role. She's also played as Storm in X-Men, and she became the first and so far only African American to win Best Actress at the Academy Award, and she won this for her role in Monsters Ball. And this was back in 2001 when she won this role, and we literally have not had anybody win for Best Actress that was African American since then, which is really sad. Her more recent roles include Jocinda in Moonfall, which came out in 2022, and where she was the actress, producer, and director of Bruise, which came out in 2020. Vivica starred in a few more obscure projects like Getting Personal, Idle Hands, and City of Angels. And I'm not familiar with these projects, but if they're known to you, let me know. But Vivica did play in some iconic movies such as Two Can Play That Game in 2001, Kill Bill, and she did have some appearances on Empire, which was a popular television show. Vivica has starred in a variety of projects and she has several producing credits. She is currently on Fox Soul as a commentator for Cocktails with Queens. Larenz Tate went to play in Biker Boys in 2003, Ray in 2004, and Deuces in 2016, which I liked, and I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix, but it was on Netflix. He has had some recent popularity with his role in Power, and although I've never watched Power, I'm just glad to know that Larenz is playing on a well-known show. He also has some producer credits with Bronzeville, which is a podcast series, and he has some producer credits with the movie Business Ethics, which came out in 2019. So some honorable mentions for Where Were They Then and Where Are They Now include the director of the film, Gregory Nava, who directed Selena the year prior, and his most recent project on that I could find was Border Town, which came out in 2007. The original scriptwriter, Tina Andrews, her IMDb page is a little lacking, but it doesn't include the work that she's done on several plays, including Sister Act, Soul Food, and Dreamgirls. And one of the more interesting ones that I found was that she was in a one-woman show about the life of Coretta Scott King.
Called Coretta, and of course you're channeling Dr. Martin Luther King's wife. What parts of her life do you tackle?
Well, I'm actually going to tackle most of it. I'm going to go from her picking cotton in Marion, Alabama, through to Antioch College, where she dated a black guy and, are we ready? And a white guy.
No, she didn't.
Yes,
she's diverse.
She did.
An interracial relationship back then?
in the late 40s.
Wow.
In the late 40s. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why that relationship didn't last.
Yeah, it was unheard of and illegal.
Well, well, she was at Antioch in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Oh, it was
so so she was up north. And then I'm going to take her to the New England Conservatory of Music, which is, of course, where she met Dr. King, who was studying for his doctorate at Boston College. And we're going to go through that relationship through his death and the 30 years after his death, when she formed the Martin Luther King Center, and she got his birthday to become celebrated as a holiday, and took a co-conspirator in his assassination to court and won. And that's the information that most people don't know.
I didn't.
From hearing her speak about Coretta's play, I get the sense that Tina Andrews is interested in telling stories that give viewers a different perspective about public figures in a way that helps you discover something new about that person. And I think she does this well in Why Do Fools Fall in Love. Instead of this being a biopic just about fame, someone reaching the highest level of their star potential, it captures the perspective of Frankie's love life in the woman he cared about, which shows us his human experience with the thing that we call love. This film came out 25 years ago, and of course since that time there have been several cast members that have passed away, including Little Richard in 2020, Lane Smith in 2005, and Paul Mazursky in 2014. So I think that this film still holds up. It's very entertaining, and I think we can hope one day that we'll get a more accurate biopic of Frankie Lymon. I'm not going to hold my breath because, again, like I said, Hollywood tends to rarely get it right. So for now, I just appreciate this movie like I would reality TV, where there might be some reality in it, but it's just really telling some interesting stories. I did enjoy the compelling way that we got to experience time through the three widows who each had a different experience with Frankie. So I do want to talk about the transition from childhood to adulthood. I think this is such an important time because it can easily set up someone for a successful life or a life filled with difficulties. When I was around 16 or 17, I started paying for my phone bill, and over the years, my parents gave me the opportunity to take on more and more adult responsibilities, such as paying for my own car insurance in college and then having affordable rent after college. With this type of staggered ownership, it helped me live life without feeling so overwhelmed. I'm really grateful to have that type of experience where the adults' responsibilities weren't thrown at me all at once, and I know that's not everyone's experience, so it really is a privilege to experience life that way. And I think with Frankie being a star and having access to different managers and producers and various people that, profited from him when he was successful, it just doesn't really make any sense why they didn't take the time out to help him transition into being an adult star. Because from him still chasing his dream, it seemed like that was still his dream as an adult. It just seemed like the entertainment business wasn't really set up to care for him. It's like being a child star is really a unique position because they have, people that have interacted with you as your time as a star have no idea what to do with you when you become an adult. They continue to see you as a child, and it's like, well, you can't do adult roles because, what will your younger fans think, or some warped perspective of not being able to have success as an adult and not wanting to take that chance on them because they don't really know what their potential could be. And it's really sad because once Frankie was starting to get back into the light, he actually was able to record 2 songs with Big Apple Company, I'm Sorry and Sea Breeze. And I listened to the songs, and they're good songs. I don't, his voice, although it wasn't the same as when he was a child, which, I mean, it's realistic. It's not supposed to be the same. It's rare that anyone's voice is the exact same as when they're a child, but, his voice is deeper and it's more soulful, and there really is no reason why he, couldn't have been recording as an adult and having a bigger catalog. So it's kind of, sad that he was so excited about, from my understanding and research, he was so excited about, having the opportunity to be back in the spotlight and have his music out there to the world, that he celebrated in the way that he knew how. His old ways that he knew how, and that's how, he had an overdose and his songs were actually released after he passed away. So he possibly was on the verge of a great comeback, but he passed away in 1968 at the age of 25. So to wrap up this rewind, I would rate this film as 4 ice creams out of 5. I think that, like I said, the film still holds up, and I would definitely recommend you watch the film if you haven't already, or check it out again if it's been some time. Let me know in the comments below how high you would rate this film. Let me know some of your favorite scenes. Let me know any information that you know about the life of Frankie Lymon. Of course, if there's any questions, comments, or critiques, you can put those in the comment section, and as I mentioned, the description box will have a lot of information about the sources that I looked up. So for the trivia answer, the answer was All My Life. I will catch you in the next Rewatch Rewind.